Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we have, probably actually one of the more boring videos, and yeah, sorry to flaunt a bunch of Balisongs here, but today we have quite an important video, and this has been a requested video, and it's about Balisong legality in places, like outside the US, particularly in the UK, at least where we are here, or at least for the setting of this video, we'll say that we're in the UK. Apologies for no outside, and apologies for my neighbour. I think he's cutting his grass. Maybe it's a builder cutting something. I think it's a builder. But yeah, we'll go on for kind of what are the laws around Balisongs in certain places, like in a lot of Europe and a lot of the world, to be honest. And I guess we'll start from most straightforward to most complex. So, for example, if you live in the United Kingdom, what's perfectly fine for anyone to own, I guess, would be, any of these here. And this is under no license, no nothing needed. So that would be any of these like comb things that you see on like eBay or Amazon, right? Any of these like plastic, cheap Chinese Balisong trainers. Basically any trainer really is perfectly fine to own. You have this here, the Machine-Wise Prisma. This is a V1. This is like an OG V1. This is funnily enough, this is actually the last Prisma they made. Not number-wise, but like the last batch of Prismas they made before they did the really cool 3D print boxes. And it's even from before they did stainless washers as well. So, anyways, yeah, I guess we won because we got the last colorway like this, but we lost because we didn't get the cool box or whatever. But anyways, speaking of which, yeah, you can have a trainer like this. You can have this wonderful, the one G10 flipper here. This G10 Orca, this is like surprisingly good. Like, look at this. It's a little clean, no tap. Now this is, this has made its way round. Maybe 5 people, and I've not babied this whatsoever when I had it, and you can see the gap is a little bit smaller here in the open position. I don't see that as too big of a deal, and it's definitely not as bouncy as it used to be, and it does need some oil. This has just been taken out my box, but yeah, this is also perfectly fine, and also of course, okay, the rep being reppy as usual. And something like my replicant trainer here as well. This is also something that is perfectly fine. Let me know if you want me to make this into a live blade. Yeah, so as far as trainers are concerned, in the UK, it is perfectly fine. And almost, I'm going to say 99% of the countries around the world, it is perfectly fine to have a trainer. And so, honestly, if you're in doubt, just get a trainer, right? Don't try and, get something across the border that shouldn't be there, despite methods of being available to do that. If you are in doubt whether, the legality of it, carry a trainer. I don't recommend, unless you're in a place where Balisongs are legal, carrying a trainer in public, because I just think generally that's a pretty bad idea, to carry any sort of, bladed item out in public, unless it's like, a small blade or for like general work use. I don't think that's a good idea. But yeah, don't carry these around, especially if you live in the UK, but these are all perfectly fine to have. When it comes to bladed Balisongs, like these, right, for example, these are a bit more of a special use case here. When it comes to live blade Balisongs, they are prohibited with a few exceptions, at least in the UK. One is if like you're a museum and it's for like a museum use. 2, if it's for like role play or like a filming kind of event. And I think 3 is if it was made or you had it since before like 1986 or whenever the ban was put in place, in terms of for having these things. So if you were to have a Balisong in the UK, it's not that they won't be present in the UK, because I guess there are contexts in which they are allowed, but it's not exactly, a good idea to have one. However, I do believe that if you possess one, you can't, I'm not sure if you can get prosecuted for just having one in your house, because there are many things that, without suspicion of being used in a crime, there are contraband items that are just fine to have anyways. Then there is this kind of weird middle ground, which is the false edge here, which my Gaboon is a false edge, which is kind of ironic considering it has the best blade steel of any Balisong I have. Now the false edges are a bit of 50-50 because I mean you can clearly tell this is still a blade, and I mean it's still a bit pokey, but of course this isn't going to do anything to anyone, right? Like in terms of like slicing damage, like no more than a spoon would. However, I'm fairly certain that under UK law, this is still regarded as a full blade, despite this being, you know, a blunt object. And despite, you know, something like this still also having, you know, decent piercing power or something like this. This has actually sharper edges. This would cut better than this, for example. And so these usually would be regarded here. However, I think it's probably easier to get your hands on one of these than it would be to get one of those. I would think the one weird exception would be you cannot buy or sell Balisongs, I believe, in the UK. That is, I believe, what UK law says, at least within the confines of the UK. However, it doesn't say anything about building them. So, technically, in a legal grey area, you could manufacture yourself a Balisong, and it wouldn't have broken any laws. This is not legal advice, by the way, guys, so don't take this as gospel. But basically, if you're in the UK, you're probably just going to be looking at trainers, or you could try to find yourself people who have brought them into the UK. You know, there are a few people who do have Balisongs within the UK, or people who are bringing Balisongs into the UK, or into any of these countries where they are prohibited. I'm sure you'll find on Reddit many places like in Germany and, you know, Sweden or whatever, people who still have Balisongs and still flip Balisongs, despite, you know, them being more restricted in areas like that. And even places in America, there are places where you shouldn't have live blade Balisongs, I believe. But yeah, basically that's the three types of Balisong that you can come across, and yeah, I think that's basically it. I think the only weird exception would be is that I've seen the CS:GO false edges like this. They're a full false edge, like no hole trainers, like sold here in the UK. I've seen those. That I think's a bit funky. So in terms of the false edge stuff, it's a little bit hit or miss, I guess. It depends on how close does a company want to play with the law. But like, for example, a company like Novalis, who, excuse me, don't sell any live blades, they will still post to the UK, and they do post their false edges to the UK. So I guess it is fair to say that you could probably claim this as a trainer item, because I imagine that's what Novalis does, and to avoid getting in trouble. But they also ship their thing with like a spanner on the ends of their blades. So yeah, a false edge is one of those like slight grey area things, because it is not technically a knife, and it's not designed for cutting. Like, I would not say that this is okay, because this is simply unsharpened. It's not a true false edge. For example, like the Yuppie Telesto, that's a proper false edge. It is not designed for cutting, or the Novalis Tanto blade, you know, any of the Novalis blades, they are not designed for cutting, which would make them trainers, just with a different weight profile, which personally I prefer the bladed weight profile to Balisong. I just prefer not having the hole pattern. I think the hole pattern ruins the aerodynamics, makes the weight distribution a little funky. Just in comparison to not having. However, I found the Prisma actually does a pretty bloody good job. Yeah, don't drop your Balisongs in each other like that, even if it makes really, really cool sounds. So yeah, this has just been a really high requested video. In short, these are all good. These you need special permission for, otherwise are banned. That's a weird grey area. If you don't want to play with the law, you know, I've heard stories of people getting letters from kind of customs saying, you know, you've prohibited item, or they've had like confiscations and stuff like that. Then don't play around with it, or, you know, ask someone who's reputable to help you out. That might be LFC, that might not be. That's up to them, really. But yeah, basically, if you're a child watching this, I mean, you shouldn't really be interested in any of this stuff anyways, despite, you know, these being quite, you know, with the bright colours and things like that, they are quite enticing for a younger audience, especially because, you know, you do like cool tricks and stuff with them where it's like, oh yeah. However, yeah, I mean, I think a trainer should be more than enough for any child. I mean, I never had any issue with a trainer, but it's nice to have, you know, like a box cutter like this. I think it's a pretty neat little thing. I really like this Bali Plus Tsunami, by the way. This thing is really, really, really good. The only thing that I'm concerned may be able to overthrow it in terms of as clones is the Bali Plus V4 Orca, which is also a video coming soon. So not V4, V2 Orca, my bad. But yeah, this thing is really good. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Sorry, my nose is really itchy. Nobody asked, but anyways, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Leave a like if you gained something useful from the video, or if you just, enjoyed listening to me ramble a little bit. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.